Hello, everyone. This is the Rio Rancho Public School Board meeting. At this time, we're called to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which would be led by Board Member Jessica Tyler.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. JC, I'm going to ask that you take roll call, please.
President Galbraith, Vice President Morgan,
Present.
Secretary Tyler,
Present.
Board Member Tripp,
Present.
Board Member Miller.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Again, welcome to the Rio Rancho Public Schools Board meeting. At this particular time, we will have the introductory comments by our superintendent, Dr. Sue B. Cleveland.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and it's good to see you here. We are having a super busy summer and a good summer, and a lot of things are happening across the district. Okay, we have a report tonight, an important report. Felix Griego, our Executive Director of Student Nutrition, will be presenting a review of the 2023-2024 school year. I have to tell you, I have some positive news to share with you about the progress that is being made in this program. We appreciate all of his efforts and the efforts of the SFE team to really work toward a really strong student nutrition program in our district. He will also be sharing information about some of the ongoing challenges, the goals and objectives for the program for the 2024-2025 school year. And as you know, we've talked about before, student nutrition is continuing to serve students this summer in lots of different locations. These are some of the locations. Again, if any family has children school age that need lunch, they can go to any of these locations and pick up lunch, just like they were in school. And they are in every single neighborhood across the community. So I would encourage families to be sure and take advantage of that opportunity that is available to them. We also will be discussing this evening the contract extension and amendment number 8. Again, Mr. Griego will also be presenting some proposed contract changes and an extension to the current contract. Amendment number 8 establishes the fixed rates for lunches for next school year. And the goal continues to be to increase both participation and the quality of food that is being served to our students and staff. And information will be presented on both of those topics this evening. We have a professional services contract for LDWI in Sandoval County. The Board of Education is asked to consider 2 separate contracts between Sandoval County and the Rio Rancho Public School Districts and Independence High School. And these agenda items will be presented by Carl Leppelman, Chief Academic Officer. And I would also like to point out that we have Sandoval County, David Heil, here this evening. And so Commissioner Heil, thank you for being with us as well this evening. We continue to appreciate and support the many partnerships that we have with Sandoval County and the efforts to try to make this a better community for everyone who lives here. And so we welcome him this evening as well. The purpose of these contracts is to provide culturally relevant, age-appropriate, and meaningful prevention strategies for both our students and our families. And the program is a support for the Health Rocks curriculum that we have adopted in our curriculum for our district. So that will be 2 different agenda items this evening. And then we have the union contract between Rio Rancho Public Schools and the Rio Rancho School Employees Union. Mike Chavez, our Executive Director of Human Resources, and Billy Heelan, our RRSCU President, will be here to present to the board a request for approval of the 2024-2025 negotiated union agreement. I want to really express my thanks to both negotiating teams for all the time and effort that goes into this negotiation process. And I would also want to share what I'm sure you already know. It's a very good practice. It's very good for our district to have a contract in place prior to the start of the school year. And so again, a lot of time and effort went into making that a reality. The proposed changes will be discussed with the board during the meeting, and you'll have a chance to ask any questions about those changes during that time. I like this graphic on best negotiating practices in terms of building trusting relationships, and everybody has to work hard to make that a reality. And so thanks to everyone. We have an important contract this evening, a CMAR contract for Independence High School. The board is being asked to consider approval of RFP number 2024-024. CMAR is an acronym for Construction Manager at Risk, and the meaning of this term will be described during the presentation. The RFP proposal will be presented by Michael Madrid, our Director of Purchasing and Chief Procurement Officer. And we're very, very excited about seeing this project moving forward. As you know, we are very tight on space we have. We turn students away every year who would like to attend Independence because of the lack of space. And we are also in continued negotiations with the fire department because of how many kids are in the building, and we have to stay within that code, and they have worked with us to make sure that we can do that. But we really do need a larger space, and so this is a really powerful step in that direction. We're really excited to see this move forward. We also have a memorandum of agreement with the National UFO Historical Records Company, and this presentation will be presented by Mike Baker, our Chief Operations Officer. And you have all had an opportunity to go and to look at the records, and my understanding is it has grown substantially even since some of us have been there with some new donations. This is a partnership to store and maintain a historical collection of documents. The district is assisting in the preservation of records and providing opportunities for our students and people in the community to work with these documents. And it's not an official position that we are taking, except that we want to have this partnership, preserve the records, and give people a chance to see them and make decisions for themselves. It's a fabulous collection, and we are very excited about being part of finding a home for that collection and in a safe place, and providing opportunities for this community. I believe that Commissioner Howe would probably like to say a word as well when this item comes up on the agenda. And I just want to end, we're not going to go into this in any detail. We're going to be bringing some of the students back that spoke to you earlier at a future meeting so that we can recognize their sponsor, Chris Solis, and the team that put this together. If you recall, they came and asked if they could do this national convention. And when they came and first talked to us about it, to Renee Salcedo and myself, I don't know that we were really leaning one way or the other, but we know it's a tremendous amount of work. We offered our site for a national convention almost 10 years ago, and it was a fabulous opportunity for lots of work, but it was a great opportunity. When they came forward, they were so motivated and so excited and so ready to go. I don't think Renee and I said, there's no way we could have ever said no. I mean, it just wanted to do it so badly. And they stepped up and they did a phenomenal job. And some of those students who were part of that were seniors, already graduated. They came back to help. And I think that's a real testament to their dedication and to the Associated Students Program at Rio Rancho High. So their theme this year was Lasso Your Leadership in the Wild Wild West. And I can tell you they were all in the spirit of the Wild Wild West. And we had 29 states represented. And the new process for student government conventions is to do them regionally and then encourage people to step out of their region to go different places. And so we had some from New Hampshire, we had some from Missouri, we had some from Oregon and Washington and Wyoming, and they came from all over the country. And everything I heard back from people who were there was how very well it was organized, and what a great job Rio Rancho High School associated students did to pull this off. And so it was great to have a chance to address them briefly at the beginning. And I'm sure that they're really glad it's over after all the work that went into it, but it was a success. So we'll be bringing those students back to recognize and honor them, but I did want you to know that we had a really successful national convention, and all the feedback that we had was really positive regarding the convention. And then, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns?
No questions, comments? We good? Thank you, Dr. Cleveland.
Okay.
Appreciate that. We'll move to the approved prioritized agenda.
This is Board Member Tyler. I'd like to make a motion to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations.
Board Member Gary Tripp, second.
Okay. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the executive session report out. The Rio Rancho Public School Boards of Education met on June 7th, 2024 at 4 p.m. in a closed executive session to discuss personally identifiable information regarding an individual student as permitted under Section 10-15-1H4 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically the review of a long-term suspension or expulsion under 6.11.2.12 G4 NMAC. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comments. We did get two via email, and they both were regarding the Puesta del Sol Elementary School. And we do have one live today. Hey, Billy.
Billy Heelan. Are you
Yeah,
going to speak during the?
Yeah, I was, you going to be speaking, so I'm like, why did she put this? It's separate though, right? Okay then, all right, good enough. Now you know the rules, do I need to go through all of that? You good? Oh, okay then, all right.
I don't think this is on. Is this on? Is it? Okay. All right. Vice President Morgan, board members, and Dr. Cleveland. My name is Billy Heelan. I am the president of Rio Rancho School Employees Union, and I'm speaking publicly today to express the deep concern of our union members regarding the results of a recent staff survey, which revealed a majority of respondents feeling very concerned about student aggression. The results of our recent staff survey are alarming. A majority of respondents expressed concern about student aggression. It creates a stressful and potentially unsafe learning environment for both staff and students, with many staff members commenting specifically on the impact to student learning and well-being. We urge the board to implement immediate interventions. This meeting should focus on developing, I apologize, I can't read today. A meeting should focus on developing concrete plans that may include increased support for staff from administration, evaluating and potentially revising existing school safety policies, directing resources toward additional counselors, support staff, and resource rooms with staff specifically trained to address student behavioral issues. The union is committed to collaborative solutions, and we stand ready to assist however we can. We believe by working together, we can create a safer and more positive learning environment for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. The board accepts and review written public comments. Person wishing to address the board in writing may use the link on the website to send them their personal comments in. But we don't have any more. I only had two, and this was the only live one that we have. Okay, thanks again. Appreciate that. We'll move on with the agenda. We'll move to our reports, student nutrition data by Felix Grego.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Dr. Cleveland, thank you for allowing me today to come and talk a little bit about the student nutrition department, kind of the latest and greatest news, kind of some of the progress that we've done and kind of what we look to do to move forward with our department and kind of focus a little bit more on feeding our students more nutritious meals. So I thank you guys for being here. With that being said, I'll go ahead and move into my presentation. Couple of neat pictures that you do see on this slide. We do pride ourselves on our salad bars. A lot of our students do like the salad bars. You know, traditionally, a lot of school districts, they'll put their veggie and their fruit on the tray, and there's really no choices. We like to give our students choices. That way, they can consume the food that they wish to consume. And so we get more students who participate, and our students eat, and they perform well in the classroom. With that being said, we'll move over on to kind of the overview. I'm going to keep it kind of short and sweet today, but cover some main highlights of the program. We're going to look at some data. Again, I'm a firm believer of looking at data and seeing kind of what the community and the students, as well as our staff, look at our program and kind of move forward in that direction. We're going to look at some student results, again, some data. We're going to look at some accomplishments, some of the things that we pride ourselves within the department that we feel that's made a significant impact within the district of Rio Rancho Public Schools. We're going to look a little bit at the Healthy Universal Meals Brief. As you all know, this year was the first year that we did serve universal free meals in the district and throughout the state. And so there's some rules that came out from Public Education Department. And so I want to share some of that information with you all, as well as the individuals that are listening to the board meeting this evening, and then future goals and objectives. So what are some key accomplishments? Again, I did cover, you know, in New Mexico, it was the first year that we were able to serve all students a free breakfast and a free lunch this year, and it's had some significant impacts within our district and throughout the state. And we feel that, you know, it has increased the student participation in Rio Rancho Public Schools. And we all know that, again, students that eat healthy, nutritious meals do perform better in the classroom. And it also helps with absenteeism. It helps families and students. And so we're very happy that we gave the opportunity here in Rio Rancho to go ahead and feed our students. And so that program will continue through school year 24-25. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little later. One thing that we did do is we remodeled Rio Rancho High School last summer, as well as Lincoln Middle School. In the top left corner there, you can see Lincoln Middle School. That's kind of the kitchen area there. They got a lot of new equipment. They reorganized the kitchen. It's made a significant impact, I think, in that school as far as serving meals a little bit more quicker. And obviously with the new equipment, the quality of the meals have been better. We did modify Cleveland High School snack area and coffee shop. When I came in, there was a snack bar that we were utilizing. There was 4 windows, kind of in a key passway through Cleveland High School. What we went ahead and did is created sliding windows and countertops. At Cleveland High School, you can kind of see it there in the bottom left corner. Those slide up and down, and we're able to serve out of those windows as well to give those students another option, kind of speed up those lines. And then we also put some equipment in there. Another thing is we got Rio Rancho Public Schools in compliance. There was a couple compliance issues in school year 22-23 during an audit. One of them was the smart snack compliance and selling competitive food sales. So we were able to work in collaboration with our high schools and our principals just to ensure we can remain in compliance. You know, our budget is about $10 million, and we don't want to lose those federal funding and feeding our students for free. Another couple areas is we modified in collaboration with some colleagues, we were able to modify policy 903, which is our wellness policy. And you all were able to look at those modifications and approve them. And then last but not least, you know, creating a student nutrition department. The district thought it was important to actually create a department, and with the approval of the board and cabinet, we're able to solidify a space in the AMRET building, which allowed us to, you know, collaborate and work together as a department with staff. It really made a big difference, I think, in the direction that we went. We got the Rio Rancho Public Schools. There's a program called Community Eligibility Provision that allows all students to eat for free, but then it operates a little bit different. Next year, we'll be able to operate the program and not ask our families for applications unless they feel that they would like to fill out an application for other programs if needed. But that'll decrease the administrative burden where we can focus a little bit more on feeding our students. And then we did update Independence High School. One thing that I did notice when we came into the district, there were satelliting meals from Rio Middle School over to Independence High School. There is a kitchen there. We modified it with some new ovens, and we work with the principals there. They're very happy that they were able to serve a little bit better quality food and hotter food to our students that do attend that high school. Next slide. One thing that we did discuss in a couple of sessions that we had passed, we were awarded $618,000 in kitchen equipment grant, which was tied to the Healthy Universal Free Meals grant. We also got a USDA equipment grant for $35,000 from PED. And last but not least, I applied for a grant in April with Dairy Max to promote milk consumption within our schools. One thing that we do want to focus on is grabbing our students some grab-and-go breakfasts and smoothies and things of that nature. We're going to implement that in our elementary schools. And then our high schools, we're going to try and get more grab-and-go carts. That way they can have access to breakfast in the mornings. We did install, with those grant funds, we've thus far installed 19 sets of ovens at schools throughout the district. So almost every school got 2 sets of ovens, so it's total of 32 ovens. Why is that important? Because with new equipment, you're able to, cook food, better quality food to our students. Special events, again, we pride ourselves on holding some special events. Down in the pictures, you see a student, we did a pizza week with them, and there was a drawing. As long as you ate pizza that day, you were able to get a ticket. The young lady in that picture, she won a pizza blanket, and so she does attend Sandia Vista, and we worked with the parents to go ahead and utilize that picture. And then we had the Dr. Seuss. You can kind of see a Dr. Seuss made out of fruit there. Fortunately, Dr. Cleve and some cabinet members were able to attend Shining Stars for Dr. Seuss Week, and we went across all the classrooms, and they were able to build these Dr. Seuss figures out of fruit, which was really interesting, and they enjoyed it. We have increased food quality, not only in our meals, but also our catering, which is good. That's one of the primary objectives within the district as I came into the district this year. We have purchased 90K in locally grown New Mexico products, including meats. Again, significant because we're getting, we're giving more money back with our farmers, and we're getting better quality. And one thing that we do pride ourselves this year is we increase our average daily participation in lunch by 15% and 8%. So 15% for lunch, 8% for breakfast. And again, as Dr. Cleveland alluded to, we do have 9 seamless summer sites, and that's up from 5 sites from the prior summer. Next slide. What does the student nutrition department look like? As you can see, there's an org structure up there. You'll see that I'm up on top, and to the left side, we have our director, Dean Gallegos, and then I have a couple admin staff, as well as a equipment technician. On the SFE side, we have Rex Lish, who leads the charge for that contract company that vends our students' meals. And just to give you a general idea, there's about 20 kitchen managers, 3 assistant managers, and then we have about 100 kitchen staff. And then on the right-hand side, we have some new positions that we're generating to try and address our food quality, which are our chefs, and then market the program, which is a new marketing individual. And up in the pictures, you can see some of our staff, kitchen staff. There was a barbecue that we had for all of our kitchen staff, which they really did enjoy. And then on the right-hand side, a really neat picture that we had with our kitchen staff for Kitchen Hero Day, which is always a special event that we like to share with our staff. Next slide. Again, survey results and analysis. We want to see what our students want to eat, and we want to address those needs. In the survey results, we got 424 responses. Out of a rating from 0 to 5, 5 being the greatest, the satisfaction is at 3.56. I'd like to see that go up a lot higher, and it's a work in progress. So we'll try and address some of the items that they like eating. So a lot of the items, which you can see up there, is pizza. Students do enjoy the pizza, the orange chicken, the Asian food lines. Some of the items that they like to eat is tacos, spaghetti. I found it interesting. Some of them want cookies. There are smart snack compliant cookies that we can serve to our students, and Mexican foods. And then some of the things that they would like to see more are, maybe more drink options, a little less lines, which we're going to look to try and address a little bit more, and more food on the tray. So, there's some areas that, based on our goals and objectives for the following year, we're going to try and address. Here's some lunch data results. We do track our participation on a daily basis, monthly basis, and an annual basis. As you can see in orange are our numbers for school year 22-23. And then in gray, you can see this last school year, 23-24. As you can see in our lunch, it's up quite a bit, average daily participation. So we do serve approximately, and it ranges anywhere from about 8,000 to 9,000 meals, which is up about 2,000 meals from the prior year lunches, which means that our students are enjoying the food a little bit more, and they're eating a little bit more, which is one of our objectives. Next slide. Just some additional data results that I think it's important for everyone to kind of see. Over high level results, breakfast totals about 700,000. Lunch total meals, we have about 1.5, almost 1.6, which is well over 2 million. Prior year, we served about 1.6 million, so about 500,000 more meals. Again, our participation, daily participation. One thing that I do want to address this next year is our breakfast participation. It's just fairly low, right? 24%, 1 out of 4 are eating breakfast, and I think it's due to multiple factors. And we want to look to address those things. Our reimbursements are pretty high, right over 9 million. Our expenditures in Southwest Food Excellence, almost 8 million. And so, we're generating about 1.4 million for the district. And one thing that we do with that money is we're investing in the program with equipment, better food quality, and some staff retention. And we'll get into that in amendment number 8. Next slide. Healthy universal meals, a couple highlights. One of the positive impacts is all students are getting a free breakfast and lunch. The stigma, it's no longer free, reduced, and paid, and every student has access to a free meal, which is good. And then I know that, Rio Rancho Public Schools and families were incurring some student lunch debt with the National School Lunch Program prior to universal free meals. And so that is very minimal at this point in time. Some of the negative impacts to kind of look at the rule that has just come out. They want us to do a little bit more. Some of the stuff we are already doing. They want to implement some school gardens, which is good, but they also want us to do some composting, which is for a health concern. I think you have to be a professional to do composting and do things of that nature. And so we're going to look at trying to do some more school gardens and working with some principals to try and do those types of things. And then one thing that they're trying to mandate, nutrition and food service curriculum. We do have nutrition curriculum throughout the district, but it's almost every age group. I think one of the primary areas that we need to focus on are our math and our reading scores and our literacy. And sometimes our teachers and our admin staff just don't have enough time in the day to address some of those things. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. One of the things that I was able to do is I met with LEFC, some of the representatives. They wanted to know how the program was going in our district. I shared some of my concerns and some of the positive impacts that is happening within the district. So, we are getting a voice heard from our district to our higher officials and representatives. That rule, there was a rule April 29th. That rule is in its final rulemaking process. We're not too sure when that rule is coming out, but it should be out here pretty soon, and we'll be able to share that with Cabinet, and they can share that with you as well. Next slide. Some of our future goals and objectives. We want to generate better menus that are Rio Rancho specific. We obviously, out of the survey results, we want to try and give the students what they want. Purchase a lot more premium products, right? The meals that we are serving our students, you have to serve better product. I'm a firm believer of the better product, the better the meal, the more students are going to eat. Incorporate farm to school, local farms and cooking with kids. That's one of the areas that we're trying to do. If you look at the pictures up there, we got Mr. Wagner, one of our neighbors down the way here in Corrales. We do buy product from him. He was able to come for New Mexico Grow Week, bring some watermelons, and we did have an event at some of our elementary schools. And then we got some ranchers from Red Dock Farms over in Belen that they provide some of the meats. So that's something that we're looking at. We want to try, again, increase more student participation, market the program a little bit more. One of the areas that I feel that we still need to do some work is to increase positive work environment staff for our kitchen staff. They are the foundation for our program, and we want to have that retention for them and kind of keep them happy. And, in turn, they'll be, great employees, and they'll focus a little bit more on the quality of food that they make for our students. We're going to increase breakfast. I did reference that a little bit more. We need to focus in that area. And then one of the areas that I want to also focus is speeding up the lines in elementary. One of the things that we want to do is in our middle school and high schools do a 5-digit code. So they just punch in their last 5 digit of their student ID and they get through the line. Sometimes they don't have their IDs, and there's different areas on how our elementary principals get students through lines, and sometimes it holds them up. I know my 6-year-old can get on my phone. She can memorize a 5-digit number, and so I think that will really speed up our lines in the process. With that being said, one other thing, we are doing a couple of projects. Puesta and Vista Grande, we're putting in more hoods so we can put more oven space so we can cook. Right now they're utilizing 2 ovens to feed about 500 kids. So we want to give them some more resources there, and then we're working on some condensers and more equipment. Other than that, I try to be, kind of elaborate and give you a high-level picture on where we're at, but I do stand for questions at this point in time.
Dr. Clinton, you want me to start with you? Or?
Let me go back, if I could, just briefly, a couple of things. On slide 10, you can go back to 10. There's just real universal concern with superintendents across the state over how this is going to work, and concerned about composting in urban areas and what that might look like and smell like, especially in very large schools like some of the schools we have. I think everyone is very sympathetic to what they're trying to accomplish is worthy. And it's, they're trying to do good things, but the logistics of how in the world we're going to do this really strikes fear in our heart, because it just all kinds of concerns about handling of the food, about the composting piece of it, the whole thing. And so it'll be interesting as we watch this go forward. I'm glad you had a chance to talk with LESC about maybe some of those concerns that we may have. But it was really almost a universal concern of superintendents on how in the world we would make it work, even though the intent was a good intent. So I think we have to continue to keep working. Some of the things, had students doing certain types of work, and then found some of those were actually in violation of both state and federal regulations. And so there's more work to be done on this. I guess that's my only point, but you just probably need to be aware of the conversations that are going on. My other comment is we've come a really long way in 2 years. And, we're, as you said, we're still hoping to move the needle forward in some areas, but participation is up. Student responses are more positive, and there's just lots of good signs that we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Dr. Clinton. We'll start with Jessica. Any questions, concerns?
No, thank you for the presentation.
Beth, anything?
No, I have no questions. Thank you very much.
Gary?
I have a couple of comments, Felix. I just want to thank all the employees for caring about our kids. I saw the numbers and they've gone up a lot. Of course, I think we've got a passionate group of people serving our children, and I think we really appreciate that. With that being said, 24% breakfast participation and 55, and you mentioned it, it still needs to go up. But I think we're definitely on the right track. And if those numbers are up next year, and just want to make sure that the employees know that they're really well, we appreciate them and we care that they care about our children. And it's a good group. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Please, go ahead.
I would like to just add one comment. It's something I'm sure you all are very much aware of. One of the challenges that we have with breakfast is transportation and whether children can get there in time to get access to the food. And so until we can resolve the transportation issue, makes it very hard for some of our students to be able to take advantage of a breakfast that many of them really need. So that's just an ongoing challenge.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. Felix, that was going to be my question, that 24% why, but Dr. Cleveland answered that. Do you have anything else?
No, I think you all alluded to, some great points, the things that are happening with Healthy Universal free meals. They want us to go a little bit over and beyond, and we're kind of stretch at some capacities. And of course, we are definitely going to address the participation in the breakfast area. Definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. You don't have anything else. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. On the agenda, just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Gary Tripp, second.
Okay. All in favor, vote aye.
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 Am I 4 ayes? We good? Okay, thank you. All righty, we'll move on to the business. First, we'll have consider the approval of the SFE contract. Felix, I guess you'll be coming back up, huh? All right.
Thank you, Vice President Morgan, members of the board. The next item on the agenda was the amendment number 8, and that is for the renewal and agreement to new fixed meal cost prices for school year 24-25. You do have a memo in front of you. I'm just going to go over some brief background information, and then we'll get right into the amendment. And we are asking the board for approval of these fixed prices and the renewal. Just a little bit of background on the amendment. The amendment is for unit meal costs as everything is going up and there is inflation. So are the prices. And so the price from this school year for, our breakfast, lunch, and other categories has increased. And this is the payment that we are paying Southwest Food for each meal. And I do want to allude that, again, we are not charging students for meals. And so these are more directed towards the prices that we pay our contractor, Southwest Food Excellent. In negotiations with Rio Rancho Public Schools as well as SFE, we did utilize the consumer price index when getting to the prices that we did get to in this amendment. And we are also looking at some of the areas that I did talk about. Some of them are offering more premium quality products and more higher quality meats and things of that nature, cost per meal. And obviously, food costs has gone up. And so it's going to be, the prices are up a little bit. One of the things that I also wanted to talk to you as far as the negotiations that did happen, we want to, board member Tripp did allude to the retention and trying to reward some of those employees that do prepare these meals. And so within that, there's some additional retention bonuses and things of that nature that will contribute to the cost increase, that will contribute to rewarding some of those good employees that are doing a good job for our students and providing those meals. And last but not least, this will not impact our operational budget. We do have a sustained food service 21,000 budget. We do get a lot of funds from USDA, and then now with the Healthy Universal free meals that are supplementing the cost, there will be no cost associated to the district, just the food service department. And with that being said, in the amendment, we are in the 4th year of the current contract, and so this is the last renewal year. We will be going to RFP this next school year, 24-25, and so take that into consideration. And so the contract does begin with the new price rates on July 1st, 2024. And as you can see here, referenced in the amendment, you can see the individual per meal breakout. And kind of in the formatting there on section number 2, some of the areas that you're going to kind of want to look at here are the lunch meal costs. It's approximately $434 that we'll be paying SFE. For the lunch, it's $168.57. And then we have some a la carte and other items that are miscellaneous items that, obviously we would have to pay SFE for providing those services for the district. And I believe that's pretty much the highlights of amendment number 8. I would like to ask the board for approval. If there's any questions, I can stand for questions at this time.
Dr. Cleveland, any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Jessica? Beth?
No questions.
Gary?
No questions. I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 8, Rio Rancho Public Schools and SFE for the school year 24-25. I think there's 24-24. Year 4 of contract, final draft of board meeting 6/24/24.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Gary, for bringing that up. Jason, you want to take a roll call, please?
Secretary Tyler,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Miller,
Yes.
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, business item. Consider the approval of the Sandoval County LDWI program. Mr. Carl Lepperman. Is he not here? Is somebody else presenting this?
He was here. He just must have stepped out. Would you see if he's in the hall?
He probably thought Felix was going to take a long time. So you tricked him, Felix.
He might have thought that.
Yeah. We'll ask him.
Okay. All right. I think I can probably
Is he?
handle this, but not nearly as well as Carl.
Hold on. Is he coming?
Would you
back?
like?
I didn't know. Is he coming?
I didn't see him in the hallway.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Clay.
Okay. We could skip over those 2 items and come back
Okay.
if that would suit the board.
Is that okay?
Okay.
We come back? Lauren, is that all right? Okay, thank you. So we'll go over to item number 4, Mike Chavez, Executive Director of Human Resources, and Billy. Negotiation union agreement.
Good evening, Vice President Morgan, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. I'm here tonight with Billy Heelan, President of Rio Rancho School Employees Union, and we are happy to announce that we did complete negotiations for the 24-25 employees negotiated agreement contract. And before I turn things over to Ms. Heelan, I would ask if the board has, and I believe it was up a second ago there, if the board has any questions about, there were several changes, and I did provide it. And I don't know if you all had a chance to look at it, or we can go through it very quickly if you would like.
You know, I guess the only thing when you sent the email out, there was four or five changes. And I scrolled through the presentation. I just saw explanations on it. But I thought during the presentation, you guys were going to kind of explain what those changes are.
Okay, I had provided a Word document with the explanations as well as the
Okay.
negotiated agreement.
All right. See, I only saw the presentation piece. I didn't
Oh, I'm
see.
sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I had sent both.
Did anybody else get a chance to?
Did you get both?
Yes.
I did.
Okay, all right.
That's okay. We can,
We can quickly go
You wanna
through that.
bring it
It's not
up?
a problem at all.
thank you.
There it is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. If you can bring up the negotiated agreement, please. The one that has the yellow highlighting.
This is the only copy. We have this one and then the full agreement.
Yeah, see,
There you go.
okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Easier to see it in the highlights.
well,
I
yes,
saw.
if you would. changed my contacts on me.
Oh, do you
It's
want me
not-
to
It's not working well. So
do
I
go
can,
for it?
I
or you
can, no,
want-
I got it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think the first one's
So
on page
the first
9.
one is in Article 8, and it's E1. And this change is actually a positive, very positive change for the union. We've been working for the last couple of years to help the union find ways to provide representation in a more positive way for our employees. In the past, and I've talked about this a little bit, in the past couple of years, and I think this is, in a way, it's a little bit of a positive thing. We've created sort of a stronger relationship in terms of working with the principals, them asking for assistance, working with employees, and the employees being allowed the opportunity to have good representation with the union, which is a really good thing because it creates a strong partnership with the union. And so the union has taken a look at that, and they've added some time in there that will allow more. Right now, basically, we have Gino Satriana, who is sort of the sole representative for them right now. And they're going to be able to add a few more representatives that will be able to assist employees when they have questions, when they're going to meet with a principal, if there's an issue, things like that. The next one, if we scroll down, is Article 13. This is a very, very simple change. We added in to Article 13 two words, gender identity. This aligns with state statute and goes towards non-discrimination of employees. This is more than likely going to be added to federal law at some point. But right now, this gender identity does align with state statute. Article 15A, we last year changed to a 3-tier system for our educational assistants. And this was in response, the state actually changed the minimum pay structure for educational assistants to $25,000. We worked with the union, Mike Baker, the cabinet proposed a change that actually pays the educational assistants either $25,000, $27,500, or $30,000. And what we did is we came up with 3 different tiers. And what we did this year, because we did that very quickly last year, this year we decided to put it in the negotiated agreement where it clarifies the expectations for each tier of those educational assistants. So that's written into the negotiated agreement at this point. Number 5, Article 30, G9. Oh, did I miss one? I am so sorry. Article 15E. This was a very positive change for the district and goes towards what Dr. Cleveland was just mentioning a minute ago, which is transportation. And we're looking for every way that we can to retain our bus drivers, to encourage people to come and be a bus driver with our district. And we went towards a 7-hour guarantee for bus drivers, which means that although bus drivers don't receive a contract, they will receive a 7-hour guarantee whether they end up working that day or not. So even if something happens, we have a day where the bus drivers don't need to drive. A bus driver will receive 7 hours of pay on that particular day. So a bus driver is guaranteed to receive 7 hours of pay every day, Monday through Friday. And actually, this worked out very well for the bus drivers. The union was able to do a survey with all of the bus drivers. They were all in favor of this. And for most of them, it still allowed them that midday time off that a great many of them like because they can still get to their appointments and things like that. So we were able to negotiate that into the contract. Now, number 5, Article 30. This year, we, at this point, we have removed the pilot program that we had last year that enabled employees to receive a payment for the limited use of sick leave, but we were able to negotiate back into the contract where if they use a minimum number of sick days, they're able to convert some of their sick leave the following year into personal days. So instead of them receiving cash the following year for a minimum use of sick leave, they're going to be able to convert some sick days into some personal days. And that was actually something I received quite a few emails about, asking me if we could reenact that or bring that back. So that was a very popular program. So we were able to negotiate that back into the contract. Number 6, Article J. This is a very interesting one, and I'm going to actually allow Billy to explain.
I got one. The one you just, what was it, 30? What was the one you just did?
30G9.
Yeah, so that was 30G9.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay.
That's why I couldn't find all of it.
And then the next one is Article J.
It is very
All
detailed.
right.
Yeah, Article J, what we've done is add in union leave for service. And basically what that is, if an officer in the union is afforded an opportunity to serve at the state level in any capacity, they can actually take leave. It has to be reimbursed by a third party though. So all the expense of salary and benefits and all of that would be reimbursed to the district. There's no cost to the district, but it allows the staff member to take leave and then return in the same position. The reason that we negotiated this is because if someone were to take leave right now, I'll just give you an example. If I was to take leave and serve at the state level, I wouldn't be able to continue contributing to my retirement. So the point to this is allowing someone to take leave for serving at the state level in any capacity as long as it's reimbursed, and they can still contribute to their retirement so they don't have to come back and work additional years past their normal retirement age. Does that make sense?
And this is returning to an equivalent position.
Returning to an equivalent position. And again, there's no cost to the district for this program.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, so essentially, this allows the person to continue to receive their year of service. Whereas a leave of absence year, you do not receive a year of service with ERB. And then finally, Article 34A1, number 7, is the raise for all bargaining unit employees. All bargaining unit employees will receive 3% over their current salary. So starting very soon, we're working very hard actually to get all of these salary schedules. Well, we have the salary schedules completed, but we have to get them into the ERP system because we have people who will be getting their first paycheck the second week or so of July. And those are the changes. And at that point, I stand for questions, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Heelan, and she can kind of explain what the process was after we completed negotiations.
Any questions?
My only question was to verify that the changes to Article 15E for the increase of the amount of hours that the bus drivers will get paid, does that put into the contract or what we had done the MOU on with the bus drivers last year? That was something different, wasn't it? I know we had
Something different, yes.
So
Yes, Board Member Tyler, that was for the standby drivers that we guaranteed them a certain number of hours as well, and that they could get benefits. If that was for actually working fewer hours,
that's what I thought.
that they would
That's
still
why-
receive benefits, yeah.
So we did not work to put that into the contract?
That's actually written into board policy. So we didn't write that into the contract because it's already in board policy.
Okay, but we had to have an MOU with the union for it. So
We do.
I think it would be cleaner to have it in the contract as well, even though it's in policy. And then it's more of a comment. I know you guys have already voted on it. I think that the language on that union leave for service is very vague and can be confusing. So at the beginning part of it, it talks about the district shall grant the leave with pay if requested by 4 executive board members, but then it says that the president of the local union will be placed on the salary schedule. So then it seems like it's very specific to only the board president. So I don't think that language in that section is very clear.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Jessica? You good? Beth, anything?
No, I'm fine.
Gary?
No questions. Thank you very much for working hard on this. Appreciate it.
I guess I just read I think I got my answer. For the 30J, I was going to ask about the time frame, but as I finished reading that first sentence, it said to serve as a state affiliate elected officer for the duration of their elected term. So if they was to leave, they would have to return by the end of that term that they have, correct? Is that what this is saying?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And Dr. Cleveland, anything?
Not anything at all specific. Again, thanks to everyone. We upgrade, every year we look at this and we update it, and that more negotiations and try to work out changes that are important. President Heelan and I both have had conversations about how critical this legislative session is going to be, where we're going to be making a lot of changes next year without it. So we are really committed. I'm not speaking for her, but on our end, we are really committed to working together this next session, because we have got to get this shortfall resolved and get this formula fixed, or we're going to have a district that's very different than the one we have today. And we're all aware of that. So, opportunities to go and work and talk in Santa Fe together, a really important thing right now, that we go with a very strong unified voice, not only the union and the district, but also the community, to get this issue resolved. And we are very short this year. It's very glad that we have a reserve to bail us through, that reserve will not be there next year, at least probably not the same level. And it makes, I guess, 2 points. One, it's really important to have a reserve. Boy, did we ever find out this year that's the case. But the second is that we built a pretty good package, I think, for our employees and with the district. And we just don't want to take steps back on that. So we will need to work very hard this session. We are not the only district that was hit hard, but nobody was hit harder than Rio Rancho was. So we're just all committed to moving forward. And we're going to have a really tough year when we come back together to talk next year.
Okay, is there anything else, guys?
Anything else?
Mr. Chavez alluded to the fact that there was a process. So when we finish negotiations, just so for your information, we actually take this, help me.
Contract.
Tentative agreement.
Tentative agreement.
Words are escaping me. We take the tentative agreement to our membership and vote on it. And we had a very successful vote, 95.7% in favor of this negotiated agreement. So,
Excellent.
and then we of course bring it to you. So.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 negotiated union agreement.
Gary Tripp, second.
Tracy, can you take a roll call, please?
Secretary Tyler,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Miller,
Yes.
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
You both.
You wanna-
Yeah, well, we've already got a signature.
Oh, you've already done it.
All right. Oh, okay. Thank you. You bet. You bet. We're going to go back to
Number 1
Mr.
or 2.
Mr. Lepperman.
Community service timeout.
Are you ready, Mr.? You good? All right.
Yeah, I apologize. Vice President Morgan, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland stepping out. promise I was only gone 20 seconds, but it was not a good time to not be in here. Had to take a call. Anyway, before you have two excellent contracts, there are contracts that really have made a positive difference for our students for a number of years at Independence High School. And really, the effort here is really to change their attitudes, perceptions early enough that they make better decisions, problem solving around abuse of alcohol, drugs, and other substances. So this partnership has been longstanding. We appreciate the support from the county, and you've probably seen some of the ads or the billboards have been up, or their public service announcements have been out, and they do make a difference. We do believe that, because when other students do listen to other students, they sometimes don't listen to us as adults, but they will listen to other students. So with that, I stand for questions. I don't know if Commissioner Heil would like to say a few words as a commissioner about our partnership that's been longstanding with the county, or any other partnerships.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. This has been a great program over the years, and we always question the investment of advertising, about what not to do, and we're tracking it. It seems to be working. You always question it, though, but we appreciate the opportunity to work with the school system, and let's make it work. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? Comments?
I can make a motion to approve.
Hello, I want to see if Dr.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You good?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jessica.
I'll make a motion to approve the Sandoval County LDWI program.
Gary Tripp, second.
JC, you want to take a roll call, please?
Secretary Tyler?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Miller?
Yes.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lepperman, you got another one that the consideration for the approval. Is it okay that we do that?
Do they be separate or together?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Before you have a second service contract, actually we're the contractor in the county, in terms of the similar but different types of curriculum. Dr. Cleveland mentioned earlier around Health Rocks and the support that they do for us, which is a curriculum that they do support, the county does. So I stand for any questions. Yeah.
Comments from anyone, questions? Good, hearts and minds are clear? We okay?
Yeah, does Dr. Cleveland want to say anything now?
No, she said she okay.
Jesse, maybe just a word, say this continues, as we all know, every one of us knows, this continues to be a plague in our state.
Mhm.
And tragedies happen every single day that impact people for the rest of their lives, the families, and people lose their lives. And so these are important programs. These are powerful programs. They touch so many families across the state. And this program in our community has been a real success. And so we appreciate the support from Sandoval County to address what is, we think, a very critical need. And the sooner we address it with young people, the better our chances are of being more successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the Sandoval County DWI Prevention and Intervention Program.
Second, Gary
Miller,
Tripp.
second.
I think Beth, did you second that? Before?
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay to let her? Okay, all right. Tracy, you want to take a roll call, please?
Secretary Tyler?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Miller?
Yes.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes, thank you.
Carries 4-0.
Carl, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll drop down to business number 5, Michael Madrid, Director of Purchasing, Chief Procurement Officer.
Vice President Morgan, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. Before I get started, I just want to acknowledge Vice President Morgan for a great job in shepherding us through this agenda this afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As Dr. Cleveland mentioned in her comments earlier, this is a request to request approval of the evaluation committee's recommendation to the board to approve RFP 2024-024-FAC. It's a CMAR contractor for the new Independence High School, and the recommendation is to award to Franklin Construction Company Incorporated. I'd like to also acknowledge Patrick Martinez, the Executive Director of Facilities, for helping us navigate through this process and kind of spearheading the evaluation committee. So great job, Patrick. Thank you, sir. I'd like to talk a little bit about the scope of work for this particular project. It's the new Independence High School, which will accommodate approximately 350 students in grades 11 and 12, supported by 39 faculty and staff members. The project is located on the northwest corner of Ontario Place Northeast and Northern Boulevard. The scope includes secure entry, lobby reception areas, conference rooms, closed and open classrooms, a science classroom, assembly and media space, kitchen and cafeteria, culinary and home economic labs, weight rooms, storage space, and student support areas. The exterior includes a secure courtyard, basketball courts, and teaching spaces. The program building, as far as approximate square footage, gross square footage, is 20,232 square feet. I'd like to talk a little bit about the CMAR process. The CMAR process is a three-step process. Step one, the evaluation committee reviews the qualification statements from the contractors. The value for that portion of the CMAR process is 35 points. The next step, is 50 points. The next step is step two, which is the pricing. We vet the pricing. The value for that evaluation is 15 points. The scores from step one to step two are consolidated, and we rank the proposals. From that ranking, we shortlist and we invite, in this case, the top 4 vendors to participate in a question and interview session that has a value of 35 points. Once that's concluded, we add the scores from all 3 portions of the evaluation. Some of the value of the CMAR process is the contractor should be able to provide constructability reviews, cost estimates, develop added value matrix to suggest savings in constructability or alternative materials during the pre-construction to ensure the design encapsulates the program within the desired budget. As part of the background, we received 5 proposals. All 5 firms are very qualified, have a significant amount of experience, has done some work. So this was a tough evaluation. If you look at the scoring matrix, these scorings are very competitive amongst the proposals. The proposals that we received are from Bradbury Stamp Construction, Brycon Corporation, Enterprise Builders Corporation, Franklin Construction Company Incorporated, and Janes Corporation. As is typical with all our procurements, we conduct a pass-fail verification of all proposals to ensure that they are compliant with all the affidavits and requirements that are outlined in the RFP. All 5 met those requirements and were elevated to the evaluation team for scoring. And it is the recommendation of the evaluation committee to request the board approve the highest ranked offer, Franklin Construction Company Incorporated. I just want to highlight a few of the CMAR projects that Franklin has participated and has constructed. For Santa Fe Public Schools, they constructed the Early College Opportunities High School. For CNM, they did the art classroom renovations at Ken Chappie Hall. Also for CNM, they did the Trades and Applied Technology facility. For CNM, they did the Facility Digital and Media Center. And for UNM, they did the Global Welcome Center. And with that, I extend for questions.
Any questions? Jessica, Beth?
I was just curious if I could ask a question. It seems to me in the past, part of the facility there was for small children that might be around. Is that service no longer provided or being provided if students need that? For children, small children?
The grades were for 11 and 12-year-olds.
Right.
Well, 11 and 12th grade, excuse me.
Come on up, please. The childcare program there has diminished to almost nothing.
Okay.
And so of conversations, I think everyone was in agreement that that needed to close because we just simply didn't have enough people taking advantage of that service anymore.
Thank you.
But feel free to add more to that. And
Thank you. If you recall, and I don't, you may not have been around for that, but we did early on in the process, we did what we call kind of an ed spec process where we sat down with a lot of the staff, some of the district representatives, some of the community members to go through kind of really what was, and then that was one of the things, as Dr. Cleveland mentioned, that kind of we found that wasn't being utilized the way it was, and therefore didn't really see a need in adding it into the new building.
Okay, thank you for bringing me up to speed.
What I would like to add to that, right now we have one student participating with their child. We will allow those children to go to our daycare, and then also Presbyterian, wherever they relocate, will still take those children.
Okay,
So we will have a place for kids that need it.
great, thank you very much.
our daycare is in Channon Mesa, and it serves, it has traditionally served our staff. But as said, we certainly can accommodate students. It's a very fine daycare program. So they would certainly be getting the same level of care.
Thank you.
At no cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, any questions?
Yeah, I was just, when I looked at the specs, I didn't see, or I guess I couldn't gather that we had really outdoor or indoor physical education or physical fitness. And then I saw, I don't know if we have a fine arts room for, maybe band or music, but fine arts. And then I was just wondering if there's any outdoor space, like what does that look like so that students have a feel of a really quality comprehensive school, that their school's not less than other campuses in the community.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Michael Madrid did touch on it slightly with the outdoor courtyard idea. Again, something that came out of our ed spec process that we did early on was to look at this idea of safety, but in doing so, creating the outdoor space around that. So the idea is that, and again, we're not at a design level yet of the building. It's still very programmatic, schematic. But the idea is that the courtyard provides safety, but also that outdoor space, but also visual access throughout the campus or throughout the building to be able to see across the building. Again, just really highlighting safety. That was one of the big things that came out, as well as the outdoor space. The goal, obviously, would to be, as we develop this campus, is to not only have that, but also to have other exterior availability of outdoor space for the students.
So this is just an opinion from experience, but two things. One is there's, let's say if there's a track out there, then it allows the community to buy into the school, and they're exercising in the evenings and stuff like that. The other thing is, and you might ask principals, but it's pretty neat to have kids bring their instruments to school and they can play out in the lunch and the yards and stuff like that. It just gives that student a feel of being part of a good atmosphere in that educational environment. So just a couple of thoughts when you get ready for design stage.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
Let me respond to a couple of that if I could. I think, we're in the process of moving forward with it, but as we often is the case, the commitment to build was some time ago, and now the reality of building today, everything has gone up a lot. And so some of the things I don't think we are going to be able to provide that we had hoped initially. But what the hope is that perhaps in some of those additional things, board member Tripp, that we might do a second phase to add some things on. But it's going to be hard right now just to get what we absolutely have to have with the dollars and the current market for construction. So I just want the board to be aware of that, how very tight the budget is, and now we're struggling. One of the biggest challenges right now, and the concern we have, is I think we're going to get better spaces. I know we're going to get better spaces than what they've had, and a newer facility and some really positive things. The real concern is, as the money has gotten so tight, we may not be able to have as many students as we hoped, new slots. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of, looking into the future. We may have to be looking at a second phase at some point to be able to do some things that we may not be able to get in, given the rising cost of construction. And I don't think we can replicate a comprehensive high school, obviously, but you make a really good point about all students need things that they're interested in and they enjoy doing. Historically, Independence has really wanted a kitchen that they could work in, that perhaps the food service kitchen could also serve as a kitchen for them to do some things with. But the whole issue of electives continues to be a problem at Independence. It's also a problem at all our middle schools. We don't have enough electives right now at our middle schools either. So that's just something that we need to keep looking at. But the budget's very tight, but what we're building is going to be far better than what we've had. So it'll be a tremendously nice facility, but some things may have to come into phase 2 just because of how things have changed.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to the beauty of the CMAR process, the process that we're going through, similar to the CTE building, is that we will actually get to start working on some of those real-time budget numbers. We don't really have to wait till the building's completely designed, and we can make some informed decisions early on to maximize the value of this building. So that is one kind of plus in going through the CMAR process, is specifically with a project where we have a tight budget and we're just seeing increased construction costs.
I'll be the first to beg the county commission right now with him here in the city. And we put it all together for the children of Sandoval County and for Rio Rancho. That's my political statement for tonight.
Thank you.
But, they just might hear that, board member Chair, because they've been really good to Independence and very supportive of the school. And, but everybody, we're not alone. Everybody that I hear in every district that has construction projects right now really struggling to deliver what they wanted that was, approved 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago. And that's just an ongoing challenge that we face. But I'm excited about the new building, and we know it's going to be a vast improvement over what we have right now. Given the discussions that you have, what are you estimating right now to be the additional number of students that will be able to be served in that facility?
Right now, and we're still preliminary. We're still truly working through the program and getting the schematic, but the goal is to still hit that 350 students that came out of our initial ed spec and programming process that we did. That's still the goal, and currently that's kind of the path that we're going towards.
Okay, so that's an addition of about 100 students. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
The one question I have, and I've tried to see if it was in here, and I know we're still in the early stages, but is there a time frame that we could be talking about? A good friend of mine, Miss Noreen, would always ask that question. She wanted to know when you were going to get this done. So I just thought maybe I asked.
Right now, the goal is opening of fall of 2026.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have. That's good. I'm going to ask that, and Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong. I noticed a lot of these we had made a motion to approve, but we were not reading the actual item that we were approving. Is that okay? Because as we get into this one, I was going to ask Jessica to read this one out.
As long as it's clear.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
I have one more question.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Cleveland.
There's quite a jump between the bottom, the last, and the next on the list. It's some pretty significant dollars. When you have that kind of a gap, what do you do at that point? You kind of worry when you look at that, and you think most of the other ones are really congregated in the middle, and then one is quite a bit lower than all the others, and it's low bid, and therefore will qualify. Do you go back and ask them, are you sure? Do you, the fear that maybe something was left out or something wasn't included in the proposal? Are we really confident that this is a viable number? And, just concerned a couple of times, not recently, many years ago, we did have situations where we had folks come in lower, consistently lower, and then weren't able to deliver on that price. So I just kind of wanted to know, what do you do to deal with a bid that's somewhat lower than all the others?
Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, that's an excellent question. That did come up in the discussion. We took the initiative to request what's called a best and final offer. We gave them an opportunity to revisit their pricing to make sure that if they are on the low end, did they really capture everything? Did they miss anything? So we asked them, please revisit that information. If they were on the high end, they had an opportunity to revisit their estimate as well and bring that down. And that best and final offer figure was the number that we included to vet the pricing portion of it. So they had the initial opportunity when they submitted the response, and then they also had a second opportunity. I can tell you that 2 of the vendors adjusted their numbers and 3 of the vendors left the numbers the same.
Okay.
So they did get that opportunity. And it's not just the pricing. We also asked them to take a look at any criteria within their response to see if they need to provide clarification that could impact the evaluation. So yes, we did that through the best and final offer.
Okay, that's good. What work has Enterprise done for us before?
One more time, sir.
What work has Enterprise done for us before?
The recommendation is Franken Construction.
Franken Construction.
I'm sorry. I just,
The
sorry.
recent project that Franken did was the facility, the Student Support Center. They're off of Northern. They did.
Yeah, okay,
for us.
okay, yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Are you
Sorry,
okay?
thank you.
You're fine.
That was just a slip.
Sorry.
All right.
Jessica, you ready?
Sure, yes. Board Member Tyler, I'd like to make a motion to approve the award for RFP 2024-024-FAC-CMAR contractor for the new Independence High School to Franken Construction Company Incorporated.
Board Member Miller, a second.
We've had a motion and a second. JC, you want to take a roll call, please?
Secretary Tyler?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Miller?
Yes.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Superintendent.
Appreciate you.
Next time I'll bring my notebook. Okay.
Mike, I wanted to call you up, but you ready to go, huh?
Ready to go.
Okay, man. All right. Okay. This is Mr. Mike Baker for those that don't know.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, Dr. Cleveland, members of the school board. So let me just start off by saying I am fighting a very nasty respiratory infection.
All right.
So I will do my best to get through this evening. And so there's 2 things that I want to really introduce this evening. The first is to review the memorandum of agreement between RRPS and the National UFO Historical Records Center. And then after we go through that agreement, I then would like to turn it over to Mr. David Marler, who will go into quite a bit more detail about what the center is and what he will provide to our students. So let me start off by saying is that the center is a collection of historical records, and that those historical records focus on UFO studies. We believe that the center is probably the nation's largest collection of UFO documents really in the world, to include not just personal observations, but more importantly, government documents, original government documents that date back to the 1940s. And so RRPS is interested in a partnership to help preserve and protect those documents. We also are interested in providing innovative ways for students. We want them to engage in educational opportunities that do promote historical research, critical thinking, the scientific process, the investigative process. we want to get students enthusiastic about learning. And we believe that this topic will facilitate that process. In addition, we also will give students the availability to learn skills on how to preserve documents and artifacts. And this could possibly lead to maybe some type of CTE on library sciences, for example. In exchange for those services, the district would provide basically a secure facility, essentially 2 portable buildings at MLK in order to store these documents. Currently, they are stored in a number of locations, mostly at Mr. Marler's residence that you all have had an opportunity to visit, and you could see the volume that he had. And so I'm sure him and his family would like a little more residential space in their home to enjoy. So going over the, also, this is very, very important, and Mr. Marler will actually expound on this as well. When we talk about UFO, people immediately kind of have an opinion about it. And it is not our position to prove one theory over another. Rather, we want students to be able to look at the evidence and draw their own conclusions. So we are not pushing for one way or another. But it's something that we believe that the students will really be attracted to the research and attracted to the investigative process, and really help them with their learning processes. So the memorandum of agreement has an initial term of 5 years. Again, it is our plan to provide for 2 portable buildings, approximately 1,300 square feet each of usable space in order to store these documents. In exchange for RRPS providing that space, Mr. Marler and his colleagues would provide at least 6 major lectures to our students and or staff on historical document preservation, on research, and on a number of other topics that is listed in the agreement to include UFO phenomena, critical thinking, scientific inquiry, data analysis, case studies, and research. The center will also provide guided field trips. And as you saw, when you looked at Mr. Marler's facility there, it was pretty cramped. And so we're hoping more room, a little bit more room spread out, will be able to actually showcase some of the important, not just paper files, but also audio and video as well. The UFO archive will also provide focus group meetings, and if approved, that will begin this August. And also potentially putting together some district clubs for students that are enthusiastic about the research or about preservation of documents, the storage of documents, etc. So this, we believe, really, the memorandum of agreement is really a good starting point for this process. And the goal is to actually provide for a permanent facility sometime in the future. RRPS would essentially act as a catalyst for that. We would get other partners, for example, the city, the county, maybe some other governmental partners to include private partners as well. This is something down the road that we believe can be a real asset to the community of Rio Rancho, not just RRPS. So essentially, that's the outline of the agreement. I just hit the highlights. And we believe the collection is probably, like I said earlier, probably the largest collection of UFO case files in the world, to include case files from Project Blue Book. Mr. Marler is a resident of Rio Rancho. He has 2 daughters that actually go to our school here in Rio Rancho. He currently works for Presbyterian Healthcare Services as a physician liaison. And Mr. Marler graduated with a BS in psychology from Southern Illinois University. He has been investigating UFO subject matters since 1990. He's conducted many interviews and investigations on the topic. He's also participated in many radio and TV interviews on the subject matter, some of which I'm sure you have seen recently, specifically Channel 13. He has lectured at many different schools to include adult learning centers, and he's also assisted TV shows like the History Channel, Discovery Channel, and the Smithsonian Channel with information on UFO research. Finally, Mr. Marler is the author of Triangular UFOs, an estimate of the situation. There's a tremendous amount of information. And so let me introduce and bring up Mr. Marler at this time. And so he will go over what the Historical Records Center will provide Rio Rancho, and then we will stand for questions.
Paul, you still need that?
No,
I'm not. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Dr. Cleveland, Vice President Morgan, board members, it's great to see you again. It's an honor to be here presenting for you today. Today's agenda item and subsequent vote is the culmination of a series of meetings and visits to our archives over the last several months, as Michael alluded to, not just by the board members here, but by some of the administration that's also in attendance today. In the time I have, though, what I'd like to do is briefly review some of the discussion items from our previous meetings. These include the nature of the historic archive, the history of the subject, especially as it relates to New Mexico, the new era of credibility now being assigned to the subject through science, the military, the government, and the benefits to our community, and specifically to Rio Rancho Public Schools. Hopefully this will serve as a refresher for some of you that have been to the archives over the last several months, but also I hope it provides context for the faculty and staff that are here, as well as student families joining us in person as well as virtually today. So with that, I'd like to move forward. Let's see here. There we are. So I think it's great to start with our mission statement. Our organization is comprised of all the leading historians and archivists in the country who are slowly centralizing all their historical materials here in Rio Rancho. Our mission statement is to collect, preserve, provide historical UFO materials to the general public, interested parties. With the accumulated data, we hope to assist with serious UFO research endeavors and aid in an accurate chronicling of UFO history for present and future generations, as Mr. Baker alluded to, regardless of belief or non-belief. And even though it's not expressly stated there, the cornerstone of what we're trying to do is education. And so respectively, our two organizations share that in having that as a passion and as a focus in educating. I must always clarify up front, as Michael did, UFO does not mean alien. I know we live in New Mexico with Roswell. It's almost a knee-jerk response. We think alien, extraterrestrial. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what our organization's saying. UFO simply means unidentified. And it was actually a military term, UFO, that was created in the 50s for that reason. And UFO implies a mystery. We have no answers. It is a genuine mystery. The mystery of UFOs, though, inevitably, when you say you're associated with it, people try to put you into the category of believer or non-believer. And there is a spectrum. In lecturing across North America, I talked to many different people from all walks of life regarding the subject. Everyone falls somewhere on that spectrum. Either the far end of the spectrum with belief, you have what are called the UFO believers. These are people that have no discretionary mental capacity. They just accept everything at face value. They question nothing. That's one end of the spectrum. But then with UFO skeptics, not to be confused with being skeptical, I must emphasize that, but people that pride themselves on being skeptics. If you say black, they'll say white, just to take a contrary position. Many of these people have firm opinions, despite the fact they never looked at the data. They absolutely refuse to look at it because they've already made up their mind. And what I like to say is that both myself and my fellow colleagues in our organization, we fall in the middle of that spectrum. We're Switzerland. We're neutral when it comes to belief or non-belief, simply because we ascribe this to just being part of history without any value associated with it as far as belief. I always say this in my lectures, whether you relegate UFOs to fact, fiction, or folklore, I think we can all agree it's part of our history, it's part of our culture. Now, I say this when I'm traveling across the country, but especially here in New Mexico, is part of our history and culture. What we have is the largest gathering of UFO materials in United States history, as Mr. Baker was alluding to. And again, this has been a culmination of various organizations and individuals literally spanning over 75 years in collecting this data. And we're fortunate enough to start having this material centralized. Some of the largest data sets we have, again, specifically case files on individual sightings, these number in the tens of thousands that we have here in Rio Rancho, are from a group called Civilian Saucer Intelligence from the 1950s, the largest organization that ever existed, the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, the Center for UFO Studies based out of Chicago, which was founded by Dr. J. Allen Hynek, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And most recently in November, we acquired a collection that had literally been locked away for 35 years, the case files of the Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization, which ironically enough had its presence here in New Mexico early on in the late 1950s. Part of the APRO files that we acquired, and I want to mention this, I've always stated in radio shows and TV shows, every time I do a lecture at the local library, whether it's Esther Bone, Loma Linda, or elsewhere, almost every single time someone will come up to me and pull me aside and very discreetly state, I really appreciate your grounded approach towards the subject. By the way, I'm a research scientist at Los Alamos or Sandia. Scientists are very interested in the subject, despite the stigma that unfortunately has been ascribed to it over the years. The reason I mention this is not only do we receive the APRO case files, we receive their administrative files and their subscriber information. And for those that don't think scientists aren't interested in UFOs, as evidence, I present Exhibit A. These are documents showing that Los Alamos was a regular subscriber to their UFO newsletter. And that was rather interesting to find and validating in the sense that they are curious about the subject, as most people are in our society. Well, I mentioned to a few of you just before the meeting that just 2 weeks ago, we received a large pod that was delivered of historical materials and case files, literally dating back to the mid to late 1950s. Some of these case files were from the Cleveland Ufology Project, ran by Mr. Earl Neff, who you see on top. And we also have the UFO Research Committee of Akron case files. Mr. George Popowich on the bottom there was the organizer of that civilian research organization. In addition, we met with 80-plus-year-old Mr. Rick Hilberg, who was looking for a succession plan for his materials. He had been a teenager in the 1960s when he started. He's still avidly involved in the subject. And we also received the collection of the late Mr. Richard Lee. So an amazing amount of data that just in the last 2 weeks alone we received. In 2 weeks from now, we will be receiving another collection from Sedona, Arizona, that will be coming in. I mention this because it describes the organic nature of this collection. It is constantly growing. It is not a static collection by any means. The documents, though, that Mr. Baker alluded to, the documentation, it has many forms. We have peer-reviewed scientific papers, government documents. Many of you during your visit saw some of the original Air Force Project Blue Book files, newspapers and news clippings numbering in the hundreds of thousands, eyewitness reports, correspondence, audio recordings, microfilm, photographs, slides, films, and I mean film footage, 8mm and 16mm footage, as well as video, artifacts and artwork. And this is in addition to over 1,700 books on the subject that we have in our library and an innumerable amount of magazines and newsletters documenting the history of the subject. So just to give you a flavor for the vast scope of material that we have. Now, the modern age of UFOs was often ascribed to a sighting by a private pilot near Mount Rainier on June 24th, 1947, and it ushered in what we call the modern era of flying saucers. In fact, the term flying saucer was a misquote by the media. Arnold did not describe them as flying saucers. He said they moved as if a saucer was skipping across the water, and a journalist coined the term flying saucer, and it stuck for many decades thereafter. The reason I mention this is I'd be remiss as a historian standing before you today if I didn't mention that today literally marks the 77th anniversary of that event. So I find it somewhat ironic that now we're standing here today to talk about preserving the history on this very pivotal date as it relates to the subject. Just a week after that event, though, we have the famous or infamous Roswell event. And I'm not going to labor this point. I think we've all heard about Roswell over the years. But I want to emphasize, and I emphasize this many times in my lectures, Roswell has garnered a lot of attention, a lot of publicity, a lot of conspiracy theories that are unfounded. But it is just one case among tens of thousands. And again, we have those files here. I want to expand the dialogue as it relates to the history of the subject beyond Roswell here in New Mexico. Let's look at this incredible, diverse archive, and let's find ways that we can utilize it to help teach the students. Well, another thing I like to point out, there are a lot of myths that circulate regarding UFOs, and I want to touch on a couple New Mexico cases to kind of illustrate this point. There are very credible eyewitnesses that see UFOs and that report them. Famous case right here in Las Cruces, New Mexico in 1949 was Professor Clyde Tombaugh, the discoverer of the planet Pluto. Many people say, well, if UFOs were real, how come astronomers don't see them? Well, he was a professional astronomer. He discovered Pluto. He described seeing a strange series of lights or panel of lights moving through the air. And in our archives, one of the films that we have, and you cannot find this anywhere on the internet, it's one of the rare films that we have, is an on-camera interview with Tombaugh describing his sighting from 1949. I'd like to share that with you right now.
Well, of the three different types of objects that I have seen, I would say the most extraordinary one was one I saw in 1949 in August in Las Cruces from my backyard. On that particular evening, my wife and my mother and I were enjoying the cool air, and I was